Hi everyone, my name is Renee M.P.T. Kray and I am the author of Soul Skeeter, which is one of the short stories that is in volume 3 of If I Die Before I Wake, Tales of Deadly Women and Retribution, and that is going to be releasing very soon from Sinister Smile Press. Now, on October 24th, there's going to be a live stream with all of the awesome authors and staff from Sinister Smile. Unfortunately, that is the one day of the month that I am just booked from top to bottom. So the awesome staff at Sinister Smile asked me if I would record a video for you guys, just kind of introducing myself, talking a little bit about my thoughts on the process of writing, and then ending with an excerpt of me reading you part of my story. So we're going to be doing that today. I hope you find this interesting because I'll be honest, even my dog has left the room. So let's just go ahead and get started. Some random facts about me. The MPT in my name stands for Marie, which is my middle name, and then the PT is for Philomena Therese, which are my confirmation names. Most random hobby of mine besides writing would be collecting dolls. I love dolls, I love collecting them, and they don't honestly creep me out. One thing that I love to do as a writer is I love to put things that I own or things that I've seen, like physically, into my books. So in Soul Skeeter, you will read about a character, the girl, the villain of the story, who wears a necklace. And that is actually the necklace that I am wearing right now. So you can see it right there. And it is just a moon, like a night scene with some stars. So you will find out about that in the story, but that is actually where that's from. And it's nothing really special. I just found it at Joann Fabrics and it spoke to me from the shelf. So I took it and I had it for a while and then I put it into the story. I am actually a cat person, but the only animal that I currently own is a dog. His name is Potato. He is a pug, and his name is both because he looks like a potato and because he has the intelligence of one half baked potato. Now that you know those random facts, let's get into the actually way more interesting questions that Sinister Smile Press provided for us. How do I choose the names for my characters? Honestly, naming characters is one of the things that I am worst at. I usually will come up with the concept for a character and then I will do a little bit of like research with just a random name generator online and maybe get a couple of ideas, but my number one thing is I pitch the character to my other creative friends and I will ask them like, what do you think that this person would be named? Because my friends are way more talented at naming characters than I am. In the case of Soul Skeeter, I actually did name all of the characters myself. Um, I knew that the main character needed to have a very specific name because when I was coming up with the concept for her, I just knew that she was going to be referring to herself in her full name. And so I wanted to have a name that really captured the essence of this little girl. So I was going through the random name generator online and the name Tallulah popped up. And it immediately made me think of a student that I'd had who had been named Tallulah. And this student was just, she was funny without even knowing that she was funny, but she was also just like sassy and smart and determined, and she was right in that perfect age category of like the 9-10 year olds. She was everything that I wanted this character to be. So I ended up naming my main character Tallulah after the student that I had. For the middle name, I wanted her to have, first of all, a short middle name because Tallulah is a lot of syllables, so I didn't want it to be like a huge mouthful. And I also wanted it to be something that meant like having wisdom or having like a second sight, because I wanted you as the audience to kind of subliminally know, or at least be able to find out afterwards, that Tallulah is the only one in this story who kind of is able to see things as they really are with the girl. So I found the name Dara, which actually means pearl of wisdom. So that was perfect. And then once I had Tallulah Dara, I just kept like hitting generate on a random last name generator online until the name Cathmore came up, and it just all sounded good together. So that was where Tallulah Dara Cathmore came from. As a writer, what do I think of the expectation that it's okay for authors to have big egos? Now, this is a stereotype that most authors will face at some point or other, that it's okay for us to just kind of be like high and mighty, where it's like, I'm a writer, so therefore my ideas are better than yours and I have a big ego. My thoughts on this is that this is honestly one of the most harmful things that any writer, new or established, can have. Like, guys, just because we are up in our own heads all of the time, that does not mean that it's okay for us to be like, oh my gosh, like I am just blessed by God, and like everything that comes from our heads is going to be just like perfect. As a storyteller, we are supposed to communicate. We are supposed to tell stories. And it's going to be very difficult to do that if you are acting like you are just better than everybody else around you. Now, I have gone to conventions and stuff with some of my artist friends, and it's honestly embarrassing to admit that I'm a writer, because people will physically recoil. Because in the creative community, it's so expected for authors to just be like, I'm so much better than you. If you have to ask yourself if it's okay for you to have a big ego, the word ego should just never come into your, if you want to be a good person, you shouldn't be thinking, is it okay for me to have a big ego in this point? No, it's never okay for you to have a big ego. So stay humble, listen to others, because everyone is trying to tell a story in some way, shape, or form. You just happen to be telling yours through writing. That doesn't make you better than anybody else. So no, I never think that it's okay for an author to have a huge ego. It's never an excuse. Be humble. What are my favorite books? My top favorite books are The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. That is the book that got me into reading and writing. So that's my top overall. Also, It by Stephen King, The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, and Coraline by Neil Gaiman. In addition, I have some other, like not the top four, but also favorite books, which include The Turn of the Screw, Dracula, The Casual Vacancy, Brave New World, Jane Eyre, and The Iliad and the Odyssey. Do I have other books published? And what are some of my other projects? Do I have social media? I do have two other published works. I have two collections of short stories that are currently available. My first is, this is my first baby. This is Think Again, a Captivating Compendium, and I wrote this when I was in college, my second year of college actually. And it is a collection of short stories which are each designed to make you think twice. So they're just kind of like the unexpected sort of twist stories. And this one is actually also illustrated by one of my friends. So you've got these really cool epic illustrations that she did for me. So this is Think Again, a Captivating Compendium. My most recent book, my second born, is one that I'm really proud of. This is Restless, a Year of Ghost Stories. So this is a series of 12 short stories, fiction, although one of them is based sort of on a true story. and each one of them is themed for a different month of the year. So like January's is called Resolution, February's is Romantic for Valentine's Day. Each one of them is tied to a specific event in a month of the year. So that my concept for this one was that I'm really sad because I love ghost stories, and I'm really sad that people only really want to read them during the month of October when it's like spooky season. So I wrote this book so that you will have ghost stories to read all year long. So that's this one. And both of these are available for print on demand. They can be found on Amazon.com. So, go ahead and find them on there. I hope you like them. But also, by the way, both of these covers were done by two of my best friends, the Jaime twins, and you can find them on Instagram at JAYME Twins Art, Jamie Twins Art. So go hit them up. I am also on Instagram. I do have a website, ReneeMPTCray.com. Is it updated? No. That would be very professional. And I sit here in a throne of dolls talking to you. Do I look like I'm professional? And not so much. So you can find me on Instagram at Renee M.P.T. Kray. When you find the page that is all books and dolls, you know you're in the right spot. That's where I am most of the time. Give me a follow and chat with me in the DMs. I'm always open to chat about books, creepy dolls, creepy things, whatever you want to talk about. I'm also working on like fantasy works. I have some sci-fi stuff in the makings. So anything that you really want to talk about literary wise, I'm down. Let's chat. Yeah, hit me up, Renee M.P.T. Kray at Instagram. Other up and coming projects of mine include hopefully within the next couple of years, third collection of short stories, which will all be themed around women. It will be a horror, and it will all be women, and each one will be themed for one of the 7 deadly sins. So kind of like Restless, where each one is, themed for a month of the year. This one will be women all themed around one of the 7 deadly sins. So that one is currently in the works. So hopefully soon. I'm also working on a fantasy novel outline, so that'll be coming. I do run a podcast called The Great YA Quest. I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus from it, but hopefully I'm going to be getting that back up and running soon. And that is just where I read and rage review young adult books, because I have no chill for teenagers, and yet I keep reading YA. So your guess is as good as mine as to why I do it. But yeah, that's one of my other projects, The Great YA Quest. So you can find links to that on my Instagram as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this little chat. It's been super fun. Thank you so much to Sinister Smile Press for publishing Soul Skeeter and for being so enthusiastic about it and so welcoming. I really look forward to hopefully working with you in the future. And for all of you watching, thank you if you got to this point. I'm sure that everything else going forward is going to be way more professional and interesting than me. So if you made it through this, you're through the worst. You're going to love the rest of this book. It's full of talent. It's really incredible. I'm so excited for it to come out. Do join in on the live stream if you are able to on October 24th. I wish I could be there, but go ahead and join it for me. And now I will leave you with the introduction to my short story, Soul Skeeter, which is going to be exclusively available through Volume 3 of If I Die Before I Wake, Tales of Deadly Women and Retribution. Thank you so much to everyone, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. Tallulah knew something was wrong even before the girl came from the woods. She'd been playing in the backyard, hosting a party with her toys. An absolutely splendid shindig, as was typical Tallulah Darakath Moore style, thank you very much, when the fine brown hair on the back of her neck rose straight up. Tallulah put down Berlina's cup and craned her head left and then right, hoping against hope that she wouldn't have to look behind her. Everyone knew that if you had to look behind you, the outcome could only be bad. She looked behind her. Their house backed up to a forest that went on forever if you asked Tallulah. 20 miles if you asked Dora or their parents. She'd seen deer and raccoons and the occasional possum sneaking in and out of the dark slash of shadow where the trees met the grass. But on that day she saw something she'd never expected. A girl was coming out of the woods directly behind Tallulah, and she was the source of the wrongness in the air. She was naked, her colorless skin plastered with drying black mud as if she'd crawled straight out of the old swamp a mile or so past the tree line. She had a patch of dark hair over her privates, which would have made Tallulah blush, if all the blood hadn't already drained from her face. Because the girl had legs that were too thin for anyone to stand on, and arms too long to be of any practical use, as if they'd been pulled down from her shoulders. Her neck was purple and huge, swollen to the size of Tallulah's thigh. The head on top was bulbous and nearly bald, with cloudy eyes and a nose and mouth that were melted together. In the middle of her chest was a tiny glinting glass circle, protruding from bubbly skin like Iron Man's heart. She was the deadest thing Tallulah had ever seen, yet she was still hobbling straight for Tallulah. Tallulah fell back, her throat too frozen to work, her limbs floppy and useless. She heard a buzzing that wasn't from her ringing ears, and somewhere in the back of her mind she was able to register it as the hum of bugs. Tallulah spotted them as the monster approached. Tiny black gnats and the long-legged crane flies that she hated so much, haloing the monster's head and squirming across her skin with the up and down motion of a sewing needle. Tallulah shut her eyes, and the scream finally came. "Tallulah!" called Dor. Even in the middle of the scream, Tallulah felt a tinge of hope. Her big brother had been doing some yard work in the front of the house, and he would save her. At 17, there was nothing Dor couldn't do. "What the hell?" Dor said, his voice closer now. "Toll, stop screaming." Too shocked at his choice of words, Tallulah did as he instructed and opened her eyes. The girl